The Amazon rainforest covers more than 5 million square kilometers and is home to about 10% of all living species on the planet. For thousands of years, indigenous peoples used plants from this forest to heal not just the body, but also the mind. What few people know is that the Amazon works as a natural laboratory millions of years in the making. The plants of this forest develop sophisticated chemical compounds to survive, and many of those compounds interact directly with the human nervous system in ways we're still learning to understand. Let's explore 7 of those plants right now, and stay until the end, because number 3 will change the way you see this forest forever. When you think of passionflower, you probably think of the juice, but the wild Amazonian species called Passiflora nitida hides its greatest powers not in the fruit, but in the leaves and flowers. The leaves of the wild passionflower are rich in flavonoids, especially creysin and vitexin. These compounds bind GABA receptors in the brain, the same receptors activated by anti-anxiety medications like diazepam. The difference is that the plant does this more gently and without causing chemical dependency. Studies published in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology confirmed that leaf extract from this species significantly reduced anxiety markers in experimental models. Riverside communities have been brewing tea from the dried leaves for centuries to calm the racing heart, a folk description that perfectly captures what we now call anxiety-induced tachycardia. Plant 2, Amazonian lemon verbena. The lemon verbena you buy at the pharmacy is one thing. The Lippia alba native to the Amazon is another. Genetically similar, but with very different concentrations of active compounds. The Amazonian version has high levels of 2 compounds, citral and linalool, found primarily in the leaves and in the essential oils extracted from them. Citral acts by inhibiting serotonin reuptake, working similarly to modern antidepressants but on a much smaller scale. Linalool, meanwhile, reduces the activity of the sympathetic nervous system, the very system responsible for the body's stress response. Researchers at UFAM have documented that riverside populations use strong leaf tea during moments of intense emotional crises. And once you understand the biochemistry behind it, you realize it's not belief, it's applied chemistry. Plant 3, garlic vine. Here's the surprise we promised. The garlic vine, whose scientific name is Mansoa alliacea, has a strong and characteristic garlic-like smell, which puts a lot of people off. But those who know its effects don't care about the scent. The parts used are the leaves and the stem bark. They concentrate organosulfura compounds, the same type that gives common garlic its therapeutic power, but with a different molecular structure. These compounds have documented neuroprotective action. They reduce oxidative stress in neurons and modulate cortisol levels, the primary hormone of chronic stress. What makes this plant special is that it doesn't act immediately like a sedative, but rather cumulatively. With regular use as a tea or tincture, it recalibrates the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, the system that regulates how your body responds to stress. Shamans from the Upper Rio Negro use this plant specifically to treat what they describe as a mind tired of fighting, which in modern terms would be chronic, anxious exhaustion. Plant 4, Catuaba. Catuaba became famous as an aphrodisiac, but reducing it to that label wastes its most important potential. Trichilia catigua, the true species used in Amazonian traditional medicine, acts primarily as an adaptogen. Adaptogenic plants are those that help the body adapt to stress, physical, mental, and emotional. Catuaba's active compounds are concentrated in the stem bark and include alkaloids such as catuabine, A, and B. These compounds modulate the release of dopamine and serotonin in the brain, the primary neurotransmitters associated with mood and the feeling of well-being. The practical effect is a gradual improvement in emotional resilience. People who use Catuaba regularly report less reactivity to stress, fewer racing thoughts at night, and a greater sense of emotional control. Science is still mapping all the mechanisms, but the results observed clinically are consistent. Plant 5. Mulateiro. Mulateiro, Calycophyllum spruceanum, is a towering tree from the western Amazon. Its bark is used in healing rituals by various indigenous peoples, especially to treat what they describe as an restless spirit, a precise metaphor for generalized anxiety disorder. The bark of this tree concentrates condensed tannins and triterpenoid saponins. What these compounds do is reduce neuroinflammation, inflammation in the tissues of the central nervous system. This is a crucial point that recent science has uncovered. Chronic anxiety is strongly associated with inflammatory processes in the brain, especially in the hippocampus and prefrontal cortex. By treating neural inflammation, Mulateiro doesn't mask anxiety symptoms, it attacks one of their root causes. Preliminary studies from Verbena and the Federal University of Acre have already identified this brain anti-inflammatory activity in bark extracts. This is a plant that deserves far more attention from Western science. Plant 6. Priprioca. Priprioca, Cyperus articulatus, is an aquatic plant common in the Amazon floodplains. Its rhizomes, the underground roots, have a unique and intense aroma that has caught the attention of international fragrance brands, including Chanel. But its therapeutic use is far older than any luxury label. The essential oil extracted from the rhizomes contains sesquiterpenes, especially musticone and isacobazone. These compounds have a fascinating property. When inhaled, they stimulate the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is the primary communication channel between the gut and the brain, the famous gut-brain axis. When it's stimulated, the body shifts out of alert mode and into rest and recovery. This explains why aromatherapy with Priprioca is used by Amazonian healers specifically during panic attacks. It's not mysticism, it's neuroscience intuitively applied across generations. Beyond pilocarpine, Jaborandi leaves are rich in flavonoids such as diazepam and hesperidin. These compounds act directly on the autonomic nervous system, balancing the relationship between the sympathetic system, responsible for the fight or flight response, and the parasympathetic system, responsible for relaxation and recovery. It's exactly this imbalance that causes the physical symptoms of anxiety: racing heart, shallow breathing, muscle tension, sweating. Jaborandi doesn't just calm those symptoms, it helps the nervous system find its natural equilibrium. The Tupinamba people were already using leaf tea before high-tension situations, such as intertribal negotiations and rites of passage. What connects all these plants is a powerful evolutionary logic. The Amazon is the most competitive ecosystem on the planet. To survive in that environment, plants developed extraordinarily sophisticated chemical compounds over millions of years of evolution. Many of those compounds interact with the human nervous system because we also evolved in contact with this forest. The compatibility between our neural receptors and the active compounds in these plants is not a coincidence, it's coevolution. Universities such as USP, UFAM, and UFPA, along with international institutions like the American NIH, have published hundreds of studies on Amazonian plants and mental health. Amazonian phytotherapy is moving beyond traditional knowledge and becoming frontier science. The Amazon rainforest is still standing, and as long as it is, it holds solutions that humanity has barely begun to decode. These 7 plants are just a small window into a universe of knowledge that indigenous peoples have protected for millennia. If this video made you see the Amazon with different eyes, hit the like button. It makes a huge difference for this channel. In the comments, tell me which of these plants did you already know, and which one surprised you the most. Subscribe so you don't miss the next video. Next week, we're talking about Amazonian plants being studied as alternatives to antidepressants. See you then!